So welcome along, Rachel. Hey, Rachel.
Hey, Han, how are you?
I'm awesome. Thanks so much for jumping on and joining us for the Why She Adventures conversation series. I'm so happy that you said yes when I was like, hey, babe, you want to come and talk about all the cool shit that you've got up to and inspire some ladies to go and get out there. So thank you so much for being willing to jump on and share your journey for whatever adventure means for you.
Awesome, thank you. Super exciting as well. I'm stoked, and thank you for the honour of asking me and for some of these amazing ladies that you've got on here. It's pretty cool. Yeah, adventure. What does adventure mean for me? It's interesting. I think my whole life I've been on adventures. Like, I lived on a farm when I was a kid and spent a lot of my time outside doing horse riding and a lot with animals. So I think I've kind of been on an adventure my whole life. I was just saying to my kids the other day, because they're building a tree house. Like, we had a tree house as a kid and we did heaps of cool stuff, hunting, fishing, shooting, all that kind of stuff as kids with our family. And I think my whole life's kind of been a bit of an adventure, to be honest, which is awesome. I actually feel really grateful for, the ride, actually. So I did a lot when I was young, and then when I was 19, 20, I went overseas for a big adventure as well. Did the big New Zealand OE and loved it. But after a period of years of doing that, I was like, well, actually the best place is New Zealand. So I came back. So yeah. So,
preaching to the converted about New Zealand, the best place to go. Like, everyone, I get so many people going, why don't you feature stuff overseas? And I'm like, because I've traveled, and every time I go overseas, all I want to do is come back and see New Zealand.
Yeah.
So for women that are tuning into this and who haven't met you before, do you want to give people a bit of a background as to what you're currently doing in adventures, in the adventure space? And then let's go back to talking about how adventure rolled out for you in your life to get you to where you are, because it has been an adventure and a journey. You and I have been friends for a long number of years. You've had your fair share of stuff come up along the way. But adventure in whatever form has always been the, what's the word I want to say, guiding light in your life.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess that, give me a bit of a goosebump there, because I think what I've realised is that I've always known what I was destined for, but I kept going off on other tangents and stuff. So, listen to yourself. Like, I'm getting into my late 40s now, and it's like, what the fuck was I doing? Like, seriously, listen to yourself. When you're young, you've got all these sort of kind of messages that are coming to you, and you often don't honour that or listen to that. And I think that's been a big thing for me now. I'm like, right, I'm halfway probably through my life almost. I'm actually going to listen to my intuition. Doesn't matter what anyone else thinks about that. What I'm doing, so long as I believe in it. And I think that's made such a massive difference to what results I've currently got, what I'm doing. So my current work, for those of you who don't know me, is I'm a full-time photography guide, and I specialise in astrophotography, which is the night sky. I'm super passionate about the universe and the night sky, and how that all kind of connects with us as human beings. When you're out under a dark sky, you kind of realise that you're a speck of dust, really, but actually you can be really significant out there in your community and your environment and the people that are your sort of vibe or tribe or whatever. And often we kind of don't step into that. I think it's a big part of the New Zealand culture. And it's at the moment, on the forefront of what's going on in the media and everything about women. It's actually, I think, really interesting for me. A lot of women, I think, are going to be shit scared about stepping into the forefront at the moment, because there's just so much conversation about that you should do that. And I think a lot of people actually get a bit scared of that, because there's a bit of retaliation from other people sometimes around that, especially around the tall poppy thing in New Zealand. And so it's just so essential to know yourself. Who are you? What are you wanting to do? Whether it's photography or biking or hiking, or it doesn't matter what you're actually doing. What's essential is, who are you, and how do you want to be seen or present yourself as an adventure person or business or whatever it is you do. Some of you girls won't even have a business. You'll be out there just doing cool shit. But you know, prioritizing your health, your fitness, your mental health is a big part of adventures. And I think for me, going through my journey of women's refuge and stuff like that, adventures and outdoors actually saved me from a whole bunch of mental health stuff that maybe I wouldn't have otherwise been able to manage. So I'm super grateful to nature for that, you know. And
yes,
yeah,
yes. Like, it's so interesting, the theme that comes through and talking to, you know, all the women that I have so far in the conversation series, that there is this real call to nature when things are going on in our world that are, let's say, less ideal. And, you know, things aren't really happening the way we either want them to be happening, or there's just external factors that are playing a part in creating internal dialogue, self-doubt, worry, anxiety. So what is it, do you think, in your opinion, that, like, why does either adventure or nature or the wilderness or whatever the word that resonates for people, what is it about that space that creates the change to go from being in a space of like, what the fuck, and then you go there and you're like, oh
yeah.
Okay.
I think for me, I'm super connected to energy, and I'm quite sensitive. I'm allergic to a lot of stuff, so I find that I'm very connected with the universe. I'm kind of, I don't know what the word is, but I'm kind of like a bit of a portal for stuff. Like, I have major deja vu all the time, and I think I've just had to embrace like that's actually cool, because I think out there, and I've compared myself to others too much, and that's something I'm really stopping myself from doing at the moment. As I've been like, right, this is my life, my journey, it's up to me to make my choices, and if I'm happy with that choice, it's cool, it's okay. I don't have to get other people's approval. And I don't know why, but it's just been a big thing for me in the last like 2 months, where I moved to the Dark Sky Reserve, which is a really big thing for astrophotography, and it's like one of the most amazing places in the world. So I chose to move here. It was a big risk to move here for me, and I was like, I'm just going to go for this. I've got to be super focused on what I'm doing, and it's worked for me. And I've been super lucky to enter into the luxury market, which is actually quite a powerful space, and it's a space that, unless you've been working with those kind of people, you don't really realise how you can actually live your dream. And that sounds really corny, I know, but I actually feel like I'm living my dream right now. And my kids who are 12, 10 and 7, they say that too, because it's the vibe of the place we're at. We kind of in a small country area, and I think for us, just being out in nature, it's even just wearing bare feet in the dirt kind of stuff, like super simple, no complications, keep it real. You know, my kids have no devices, so it makes me be off devices a lot more as well, which has been, I think, a really important part of my growth in my business, because you can spend so much time scrolling through the old news feed.
Oh my gosh, can we what? And
and also, I guess the thing about that I just want to mention is I used to feel a bit guilty going outdoors, like, oh, I should be on my computer working, and now I'm like, this is actually part of my work. Going out on adventures is part of my daily work. And actually, who the fuck do I have to answer to? It's my life. Like, I should do what I like. And I guess that's been a big thing for me, being also single mum. I do whatever I want every single day. How awesome is that? You know, like, people would just love to have my life. So I've just been really focusing on, I guess, my connection with adventure and the outdoors and nature it's all one. Like, I think when you live in a big city, you kind of sometimes get a bit lost of that, because you're in the concrete jungle, or maybe you're just not, like, even if you live in a big city, you're not going to yoga, or you're not going to you know, out in the park, local parks, to do outdoorsy stuff as much as you might sort of want to. You can still do it wherever you live, but I personally, for me, moving to the space in the town and the city and the reserve, for me, has been life-changing, because I know it's my vibe, it's my space. You can probably relate to that with moving to Christchurch. Like, when you're in that space, like, good shit just happens, because you're actually have the courage to step into whatever it is you're supposed to be doing, I suppose. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know how it's all going to pan out, but it's just like, I'll take the step,
Yeah, actually, I really want to talk about that because, you kind of mentioned just through that part of the conversation that it was like, you were living somewhere else and then you kind of made the decision to move to where you are now. And it was like, I want to know what, like, because obviously there was something there was stuff that was holding you back from doing the move. So what got you to make that decision for yourself to go, actually, this is going to be so good. Like, I'm scared. I'm shitting my pants that I'm moving to a different place and, there's all that. But what pulled you through to go, or what was the final linchpin that you went, I'm making the move, I'm packing up my life, my kids, and I'm moving to the country and I'm going to eat a lot of peaches.
Moving to the sticks. Well, it's a really interesting question because I wanted to move and I couldn't because of my custody situation. So I was getting angry. I was so angry for a while, and I was just like, this is not serving me. I need to just breathe and let go of all that anger and frustration, and I guess I kind of just let it go, put it out there to the universe, asked for what I wanted, did shit tons of affirmations, which is a big part of my life and always has been, about what I am, I have, that kind of stuff. So I manifested this place where I live in. I dreamed about it. I manifested it down to so many details. It's freaky. Like, I'm just like, what? Like, how did that happen? And it happened because my intention was so strong, and I had a bit of an out of body kind of feeling about it, but I just didn't know how it was going to happen. And I think because I let it go and just put it out there, you would be amazed what actually happened without going into all the detail. For me to actually be able to move here, it was actually quite a lot of steps, and a lot of, like, 10 months later, going through a lot of steps to be able to do that. And it's been amazing. It's been interesting because I'm also not allowed to move any further away from where I am until my youngest is 16. So I've had to, I guess, work with that system, which I find really difficult because I feel like it's stopping me from having my freedom sometimes. But it's like, well, I have responsibilities. So my responsibilities are my children, my family, but also for me to live my life and my dreams. I just have to map it out, and it's going to take a little bit of time for that to come together. And I think for any of the mums in here, it's really important to kind of have a bit of a give and take with that. So yes, your kids are important, your husband, if you've got one, or your wife's important, and you really do need to dedicate some time to that because you chose to have those kids and stuff. But don't lose yourself in that. Like, I think a lot of people get lost in that, and I know for me, I put on a lot of weight. I'm on a phase of losing some weight at the moment and getting healthy and looking after myself, because we give so much of ourselves away to others. And when you have a venture business, you also give a lot away to others of yourself. So it's so essential to, just take that 15, 20 minutes or whatever it is a day, if that's all you've got. And I used to say, oh, I'm too busy. It's complete bullshit, honestly. Like, how much time have I been watching TV or, talking to someone on the phone or scrolling through social media? Like, take 15 minutes off that. Or get your kids to do the dishes so you can have 15 minutes peace.
Yes, actually.
Like, plan shit. You've got to be super planner, and I'm not a super planner because I'm creative and I find that challenging, but I've had to become super planner in that part of my life. And if you don't, it's a choice. And I think that's, I'm pretty ruthless on that, because I have been able to build my business through the cracks of motherhood, is what I call it, because when I first started, my baby was 5 months. I had a 5-month-old, a 3-year-old, and a 4-year-old by myself. So I had to make it work. I had to find a way. And as you know, it was a bit of a roller coaster for a while there. I dropped the ball a lot of times too. But that was part of the journey and the learning. And I think what that's done is it's really humbled me. It's humbled me. I was too cocky before. It's humbled me to, I think, understand the human development in a different way. It's humbled me to realise that everyone's got a story, and all our stories are different, but they're kind of the same, if you know what I mean. We're all equal, we're all worthy of love, we're all worthy of having time to spend on doing shit we love to do, and in our case it's adventure. So I think that's really important.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about that then, because I want, like, the ladies that are watching this and they're like, I hear you, Rachel, I've still got kids, can't find the time. So like, what's maybe like 2 or 3 really practical things that the women out here that are listening to, whether they have kids or a busy life or just some bullshit excuses, what's 2 or 3 practical things that you would offer up as ideas on how these women can get adventure in their everyday life and those little snippets?
Yeah, okay. So getting adventure in your life could mean a whole bunch of things. It could be learning about something, watching a video, going and actually doing something. You know, there's a whole bunch of ways to keep inspired around that. And the weather has a lot to do with that, I think, in New Zealand, especially where I live. It's freezing cold in the winter. And I guess it's just getting into shit. Like, I've taken my kids to places that people probably don't think they should take them, or, oh no, I can't do that, or whatever. The kids freaking love it. Like, I take my kids out to aurora hunting. They take their sleeping bag, their snacks, and on this occasion I let them have the iPad just so they're in the car while I'm outside of the car. And I've gone and found these spots where I spent time when I came here driving around finding spots that I can park up the car and I don't have to go anywhere else. Like, I don't have to walk up a track to get the photos. So if you're doing daytime stuff, obviously it's a hell of a lot easier than nighttime stuff. But my kids, I've taken them, and not on school nights, but in the weekends, where they go to sleep in the car while I'm doing that. And they think it's awesome. And then we get home and they don't want to get out. They're like, can we sleep in the car, Mum? You know, like, and they remember all that stuff, you know. They're like, well, I think we get a bit indoctrinated to, oh no, you can't do that. Like, get your kids out there, get them dirty, get them, you know, let them play in the creek and get completely filthy and dirty. My kids play outside in the dirt, like, they think it's awesome. Like, kids still love that stuff. I took my kids off devices like 6 months ago, and it has been an amazing experience and the best thing I've ever done as a parent. So, you know, they still have them from time to time, but not like most kids do these days. They don't have a phone and all of that. They don't need a bloody phone. If they need a phone, they can use mine. And that's just that's my parenting style. That's how I work. And I think what I've found is it's building their brains, because what's super important about that is, and then it makes you feel good as a mum. You're out adventuring, you're taking your kids out, their brain neuro connections are getting a connection with nature. They're thinking for themselves. They have to look at problems and solve them. And how am I going to get across this river? Or how am I going to jump to that rock? And it's so good for your kids. It's better than a whole bunch of other things. Maybe if you can look at it like that, and if you've got a partner, then you can do it together. It's even easier. And have little picnics. Take a little day bag, and get some cool treats in there. And they're stoked for it. They just want to go all the time. They'll be asking you, you know, can we go? So I think that's one thing. And, you know, can you bike to school together? Can you drop your kids off to school, leave their bikes at school, and then you go for another bike ride, or stuff like that, you know, like, just try and stick it into the, you know, every parent knows that there's like the school drop-off routine, you know, type thing. And everyone's like usually total chaos getting to school and making sure everyone's got all their shit for school and all of that. But put the exercise or the adventure into that, so it's just like part of the drop-off routine. And then I think also that makes you more inspired rather than Groundhog Day, because it kind of is a bit like that. And for me, I plan out stuff in the school holidays. So we do stuff, we do adventures, we go on trips, we go, you know, even if it's just locally around just your area, you know, plan out stuff 2 or 3 weeks before the holidays, what you're going to do, tell the kids. And now my kids are telling everyone, we're going to Milford Sounds for the holidays, like, you know, and so they just love that sort of stuff. And get them on board with it, get them engaged with it. You know, if you've got a camera, then get them taking photos. Kids love that stuff. My kids are now starting to edit photos on Lightroom and Photoshop because they see me doing it, and they're like, oh, I want to do it, you know. And one of them's now publishing a book. She's 12, about living your best life, and she's got photos on the cover that she's taken herself. that's all through me taking them off devices and getting them out there, you know, doing cool stuff. I think in our family, we're quite an adventurous sort of a family as well, so that does help.
Because your mum's adventurous, isn't she?
Totally, yeah. And maybe if you haven't got an adventurous family, try and find friends that you can adventure with. That's probably the other way of looking at it. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's just take a moment for anyone who's watching this to just acknowledge your mum. Your mum, Shona, is one of the most epic ladies I've ever met, because, you know, I lost my mum 6 years ago, and you know, it's always nice meeting someone else's mum, because, you know, it's like you miss that mum feeling when you meet someone else's mum and you get a cuddle from them and you're like, oh, it's just like how a mum hugs. And your mum, from the moment I met her, I just was like, that is one hell of a woman. Like, not just a mum, you know, like as a human, she is really great. So, you know, that begs me to leave the question, what women have been what adventure women have been influential in your life to inspire you to get out and adventure? Yeah,
well, obviously mum is a big part of that. Mum has been a guide herself over the years, and she's done like 30 years tramping. And she's amazing on, like, she knows all the birds and plants and all that kind of stuff. She's actually much more versed on that than me.
By the way, we're going to bring Shona on to the Why She Adventures conversation series if she says yes. So, because she's just brilliant. So,
and I think because she's what is she, 68, 67, can't even remember, 67. She doesn't act her age. But, you know, because she's of that generation too, she's so inspiring. Like, every day she's out walking because she wants to keep her fitness. You know, my dad recently passed away as well, and he was quite young, and, you know, she's taken some time over that, but she's actually pretty okay because she's got her own, they were super close, but she's got her own life. She's got her own, you know, mission and what she wants to do for the next phase of her life. And that's super inspiring to me because, you know, she's going, right, okay, well, I don't know when my number's up, so I'm going to go out and do as much adventuring as I can. And I just love that about mum, because she's, you know, she's just got an attitude of gratitude type thing. And that might sound a bit wanky, but she comes from a family of 13 children. And I think that when they grew up, you know, they didn't get a lot of opportunities. They didn't get to do a lot of stuff. So they didn't get to do sports and that because they lived way out in the country. And she was really into that kind of thing. So I think for her that she's kind of done it for herself because she didn't get to the opportunity. And that generation is obviously a lot different to today. I mean, this is the other thing. We have got so much freaking opportunity. It's not funny. Like, are we actually grateful for that? Do we actually realise what we've got in our hands? Living in New Zealand, how many people live in places like China and that would kill to live here? You know, like, are we actually maximising what we have and right on our doorstep? And I'm quite passionate about that because I go to people, I live at Aoraki Mount Cook National Park area, and people go, oh, I've never been to the Tasman Valley. Are you kidding me? Like, it's just over there, you know? And it's one of the most amazing places. And that happens every second person you talk to around here. I'm just like, this is crazy, you know?
Oh my goodness. So what other women have been like really influential in the adventure space for you that you have either looked up to them or you stand alongside them and you just go, they've either created a space or creating.
That was because I'm in the photography, astrophotography area. That's a really awesome question for me because there's not very many female astrophotographers that are like really out there professionally doing astrophotography. So I've actually done a bit of research on this and been, you know, searching out for people. And I think one of the girls that I really love, who you probably wouldn't have heard of or know, is a chick called Rachel Roberts. She's from the west coast of the South Island, amazing photographer. And so I've recently connected with her and we did a workshop together, and it was so cool to actually learn from a feminine perspective because male photographers actually very different to female photographers. It's how our brains are geared generally. We're a lot more intuitive. And Rachel's just amazing. Like, she's taught me a whole bunch of stuff And what I love about people like her, and there's quite a few people in that space, is they actually take you out and show you exactly how to do it. And for me, I'm a doer. I'm not a person who's going to sit behind a computer and figure out on YouTube how to do something. It's not how my brain works. I mean, yeah, I have a look, but I'm a doing person, get out and outdoors. So Rach has been amazing. Rach Stewart, all the Rachels today. Rachel Stewart, she is so an amazing photographer as well. She specialises in landscapes, but she also does a bit of astro, but she is also a mum of 3 kids on her own. So, you know, you get these people who you're just like, wow, she's really cool. I have to say a lot of my photography inspiration are men. So I'm sort of always on the lookout for female people to follow. I've just recently met a lady. Well, actually, I met her 3 years ago, but we've reconnected, who has just invited me actually tonight to go up and do some deep space photography, which I've never done before. So I'm super pumped, and it's clear sky, or almost clear sky. So I'm just like, wow, this is so cool, because I want to up my game, and that's what I'm about at the moment, is upskilling myself. I have a bit of a goal to be one of the most recognised female astrophotographers in New Zealand, just because why not? You know, I'm not into the ego side of it, but I just think it's cool to challenge yourself to up your game. Every time you go out, what can I do to up my game? And that can be locations, you know, as well as actual photos. So, you know, what are the cool spots that no one else goes to is something that I also spend quite a bit of time on, as well as, you know, where can I go and get a cool photo that no one else has been to around here. So I spend quite a bit of time just having a look around, you know, recceing out some cool spots. And then for me, which might sound a bit funny, but I have quite a few people that I take out with me just as friends around here, who actually inspire me just as much as anyone, because I think when you teach someone something and then they actually implement it and get a really cool result, for me that's really exciting. And I do a bit of youth stuff. I've just recently done a week with a 9-year-old girl, and she was so excited and so interested and so into it, and so that actually inspires me as well to you know, teach someone and then they actually implement it. Then that's a really big thing. I think out of the female space and adventures, of course you have been a big influence on that to me as well. We've done a lot of cool fun stuff together, you know, and that's been really exciting, and I just love to see what you're doing. You're doing some amazing stuff in this space, and I don't actually think you realise how awesome it is what you're doing. So thank you for all the, you know, the fun and the inspiration and that as well. So that would probably be my main ones at the moment.
Oh, you're the first person to list me. Yeah. It feels really special. Thanks, Rachel. I totally appreciate that.
I genuinely mean that. Like, you know, we've done quite a bit of adventures together, and it's been so awesome to see you grow and develop as well. And also, you know, you're so clever at the whole business side of running an adventure business, which is actually, for a lot of people, where they fall down if you're running a business, because it's essential to have all those systems and licenses and things. You know, for me, I've got like a dock concession and stuff like that, and you've got to have all those safety and first aid and all those things in place, and that is something that you're really good at. So that's really inspiring to me.
Stop it. Let's talk about you. It's just nice it's nice to be carving a really big motherfucking chunk out for women doing adventure in New Zealand, whatever that space means to you, because I know that there's a huge ask for it, for women to get together to go and adventure. It's one of the things that stood out so strongly through running Adventure Girls and the adventures and stuff. So you know, so I'm like, let's just get more ladies out doing some cool stuff. So talking about doing cool stuff, of the places that you go to, because I know you've been to a ton of places in New Zealand, so whether it's been photography or whether it's been personal adventures, whether it's been business stuff, what have been your 3 most favourite places in New Zealand that you would just be like, I would go there in a heartbeat? And if you haven't been there, you better damn well put it on your Adventure Girls bucket list.
Absolutely. So obviously the Mackenzie, where I've actually moved to because I love it that much, is my number one. The Ariki, Mount Cook National Park, Lake Tekapo, Lake Pōkaki, all those areas, Lake Ruataniwha, which is really underrated and amazing. In fact, one of the probably the best lakes here. So the Ariki, Mount Cook National Park, Mackenzie region is my top number one.
Beautiful. Noted, ladies. Are you writing that down?
The other two places, I think the thing about Mount Cook as well is there's so much variety and such amazing ecosystem as well.
Just on that, we did some ventures together through there, didn't we? We went and we touched down on 2 glaciers in one day through your friends at the
ski plains. Yep, Mount Cook
ski
plains.
Mount Cook ski plains. Yeah, and we went and looked at the glacial lake as well, the Tasman glacial lake, is that right?
Tasman and the Hooker Valley and the Tasman Valley. Yeah, so there's the 2 glaciers, there's the Alps to Ocean cycle trail, which is amazing. There's fishing, there's so much stuff. And that's another thing. Fishing is a big thing, actually, that I don't see many women doing, but that's also a big thing here, which is quite popular. Then there's all
so the Mackenzie country, number one. Number two, what is it?
Which I have to mention because I lived there for 7 years, is Kaikoura.
Yes.
Love that place, had my babies there. Absolutely awesome place. Got a big chunk of my life and my heart is still there. Spend quite a lot of time venturing back there every now and again because it's just such an awesome place.
2 things that you would say if you're going to go to Kaikoura, you've got to do. If you don't do them, you're absolutely silly, and maybe there might be cool little secret spots that not a lot of people know
of. So since the earthquake, there's quite a few tracks you can't go on. So that's kind of, some of those places are in there actually. But the South Bay track, which goes from one side of the south to the north actually, at the lookout there is really cool, and it's not that hard. It's quite easy for kids as well. Amazing. It's about, I think, an hour and a half's walk, but you see so many different things, and then you see the beach as well as the mountains. And that's the place. Kaikoura is where the mountains meet the sea, is their sort of tagline, and it's amazing. So the highest mountain, Mount Fife, is 1,600 metres high, and then down into the canyon in the water where the whales go is 1,600 metres deep. So it's a pretty amazing, I know, crazy, right? Like, it's quite, I think the thing about that place is it's like goosebumpy. Like it's one of those places where you're just like, wow. And the wildlife from the whales, dolphins, crayfish, seals and all of that. And the penguins, there's albatross, it's a mecca for people that love marine wildlife. So pretty cool wee place. Also so cool to go and stop there to support the growth of the redevelopment for that town, because they live on tourism. So just my wee plug there for Kaikoura.
I just drove back from Auckland to Christchurch driving Big Bertha. I did a relocation camper and moved a bunch of my stuff down to Auckland, and I had to do a coaching call along the way, and I stopped at Kaikoura because I was like, and then so I look out and I've got this beautiful beach and the ocean, the color of the ocean there, it just takes my breath away. It is so beautiful. So I haven't done exploring and hearing about Mount Fife, and then that sounds amazing. So
and Mount Fife has an amazing walk as well. It's quite steep, it's quite elevated, but it's amazing. Obviously when you get to the top, you've got an amazing view, and there is a wee hut there as well, so that's a dot track. The third place, which is
lucky number 3. I hope you're writing this stuff down. This is juicy.
I've just been to Stewart Island last week, and that was insane, and I loved it. But my third place is going to be Glenorchy. I love Glenorchy. Glenorchy is such a special place as well. I think for me, I like all these wee nooks and crannies that are away from, big populations. Glenorchy is beautiful. It's pristine. It's like the pure New Zealand, the real pure New Zealand. And it's such a quaint, cool wee town. There's some amazing adventures, spaces and walks and jet boating, horse riding, a whole bunch of stuff you can do there. And it's just a beautiful place. There's a place there actually called Paradise, which it really is like a paradise. You can get some amazing auroras at Glenorchy as well, which is kind of cool because it's part of it's south facing, so that's always really exciting for photographers. Great for dark skies as well, and yeah, just heaps of cool like little spots to trip around, and it's quite different. It's kind of similar to Queenstown, but it's different. So it's, you know, you go through Queenstown to get to Glenorchy. There's some really cool eco camp there. So it's like completely 100% eco and been built and developed completely eco and self-composting toilets and all that sort of stuff. And it's a real cool place to stay as well. Camp Glenorchy, it's called. Yeah, so that'd be my top three. I mean, there's tons of other amazing places. I'm really lucky to go. I mean, I love Wanaka and places like that too. There's heaps of cool. That's the thing I think what I've learned over my life is, and Mum's kind of taught me, I suppose, is that if you go onto the DOC website and you actually look at all the options you have of tracks to go to, it's actually freaking insane when you think about it. Like there's Lake O'Hare and up the back of Temple Basin. There's so many awesome off the beat track places, and you can like virtually camp your tent or camper van and park up. Like how amazing is that? So once my kids are older, that's my dream, to get a bus. And then I'm out of here.
It's so true. Like, you know, out by O'Hare, there's the little South Temple hut that I've been with Mel. She runs the Lake O'Hare quarters out there, and her hubby took me and a friend out, 3-hour walk, 6-sleeper hut. You know, we had to take our boots off on the last crossing, and it was warmer to have our feet in the snow than it was to have it in the water. But we got to start a fire, and we slept in this tiny little 6-sleeper, and it was like freezing cold when we got there. So what do? You crank the fire up, and then once it kind of came through the what do you call it, the fire thing? Oh my god, it's totally gone out of my head. Yeah. Thank you. It was like a freaking furnace, and we like all slept with like pretty much in our undies because it was so ridiculously hot because it was such a tiny little room. But that's on the DOC website, so it's just like you're totally right.
There's heaps of places like that, and at Mount Cook National Park, you can go and stay. Like, how crazy is this? You can go and stay at the Tasman Valley Hut on top of the mountain on Tasman Glacier for $15, or you have to get flown in, but still, it's still awesome. Like to me, I'd rather stay in the 5 billion star hotel out there than, you know, the 5-star hotel. So that's just me, but lots of people don't think of it like that. Like you can go to the Plateau Hut on the side of Mount Cook. You can go to, and those two, Tasman and Plateau, are dropped off by the heli or the ski plane. And the other place you can go to that's amazing, which I'm hoping to get to this coming summer, is the Mueller Hut in a place called Sealy Tarns, which is just stunning. It's a very steep walk up, so you have to be quite fit. I think it's like something like 150,000 steps or something crazy. But it's amazing. It's just down from Mount Cook, like $15 to stay there for the night. Like there's so many huts like that in New Zealand, and then you've got all the great walks. And all of that kind of stuff as well. If you're working, just a point, if you're working in any of those spaces as a business, you do have to have a DOC concession. So just be careful of that, because that is a really, it's a big thing at the moment. So don't take people to DOC places without a concession. You can get a one-off concession just for one trip, or you can get a longer-term one. And it's actually not expensive.
Yeah, and most of the women that are watching this will be doing it for themselves, but if any of you are considering doing that space, you want to do that, like, just on a complete side note, you want to do that stuff right, because you've got to make sure your health and safety is taken care of, and you want to be working alongside someone like DOC to support them and all the things that they bring to us. And so as we wrap this up then, I want to know, like, the last question is, what's one message you have for women out there who want to have more fun and adventure in their lives, but they're afraid of taking that first step?
I guess just find one thing that you are excited to try for starters. You know, stick your toe in the water, as they say, not maybe literally. Go and do something gentle, like, I don't know, stand up paddleboarding, or a bike ride, or a short walk or something. Just, you know, get out there and give it a go. I'm super intuitive. I don't really take much gear or stuff with me. I'll take a sandwich and an apple kind of thing and a bottle of water. But if you need to be super planned out and you're worried about all that stuff, plan it out, get a checklist. There's checklists actually on Kathmandu's website for stuff like that. You can download for free. I don't know, Senka's probably got a bunch of stuff you can download to have a check out like all the checklists. She's got probably 50 checklists knowing her.
There might be a few there.
Might be at work. Make a checklist, plan it out, get a venture buddy. That's probably the biggest thing about all that, is get an adventure buddy. Or if you haven't got someone, then find somebody who operates tours that's not too expensive, that you can go and have a, try it, sign up for a term or a summer of some sort of a thing that you're interested into. And I think you do have to invest into it, so for me, I don't watch TV. I don't buy shit for myself. Like, I don't buy stuff I don't need. I invest my money into adventures in a tank of gas, basically. My kids laugh at me because I'm like, woohoo, we're going to tank of gas, let's go,
Oh, I love it.
People give me petrol vouchers, I'm stoked.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's so good. It was like, a full tank of gas gets you so much adventuring. So really,
and the last thing I was going to say is, if you're into photography, I was just going to say this. So when I first started out, and I've got it here with my one Canon 6D, not this big lens, but a small lens. So I had one camera. You don't even need a 6D, but just get a good camera if you want to do photos. One camera, one daytime lens is all you need to get started. You don't need any other equipment. So don't be like, oh my God, I have to buy all this stuff. No, you don't. What you have to do is just get out there and start shooting shit, get shit tons of photos, and you can learn that way. And that's another conversation. If you want to do nighttime stuff, then you need a nighttime lens. If you want to get really awesome Milky Way or star shots, you don't need any other gear. You just need warm jackets, your tramping boots and whatever, and go. Like, people get all like, oh, I have to buy all this stuff. No, you don't. You just get out there with the basics. And I think for me, I've learnt, because I didn't have a lot of money when I started my business, and that I'd learnt how to do stuff with the minimum gear. And that served me really well, because now I am able to teach people who have the minimum gear how to master it, if that makes sense. So that would be my little tip.
Awesome. What a great tip. You're so right. Like, we can build up the story. And yes, I think there's a time where you need specific gear if we're talking going out and adventuring.
Yeah.
People underestimate places like the Tongariro Crossing, and they don't go well equipped clothing wise. So there's a time and a place where you need to make sure you have the things to be safe in the outdoors. But there's also a time and a place when it comes to things like that, like getting started.
Absolutely.
Into spaces.
When you start out, you just have to make the decision to do something first. Like, don't make, what I'm trying to say is, don't make the excuse that you can't go because you haven't got the fancy gear, because that's actually bullshit as well. You can go out with a phone and start taking photos. That's how I started, with my mobile phone. And I used to edit them on Photoshop, and people would be like, what, did you take that on your phone? And I'm like, yeah. So, you can actually, these days with phones the way they are, you can set them to RAW, shoot on RAW and high pixels, like 5,000 pixels or so, 4,000, 5,000. You can get a photo that you can print probably up to about A3 or A2, which is pretty good.
That's amazing. So, Rachel, if people want to get in touch with you, either from a photography perspective or from a guiding perspective or anything like that, what's the best place for them to reach out and get in touch?
Awesome.
With
you? So I have nztraveladventure.com, which is my guiding stuff. Then I have Rachel Gillespie nz.com, which is RACHEL GILLESPIE nz.com.
We'll put the links with this video to make life easy. We'll put those links.
Absolutely love to. Sometimes I do free meetups as well. So, if people are wanting to just suss it out the place and see what's going on, it's not always about, spending money. Come and check the place out. Or if you're in the Mackenzie, give me a buzz. I might be out doing something.
Awesome. Hey, I want to say a massive thank you for getting on this. I love the conversation about, I wrote down free range and device free kids. And in my head, I also went, that is so applicable for us women as well, like having a bit more free range and a bit more device free. And then it also took away like upping your game, like where are opportunities that in life we can up our game, whether that's challenging ourselves to do adventures that stretch us, or whether that's in like actual life, like going for things that we know in our heart and soul we want to do, but we're maybe just a little bit afraid of doing that. And then of course, like the 3 awesome places to go to in New Zealand, which was the Mackenzie Country, Kaikoura and Glenorchy, like they're on the list. But the one that's definitely going on my Adventure Girls must do, Mount Bai. I want to go do that now, because now you told me something about it, I'm like, that is going on the list for next time.
Mummy Shona, that was her track. She used to take people.
Awesome. I will ask Mama Shona.
Got all the gene on that. Yeah.
Awesome. All right, Rachel, it's been a freaking pleasure to talk all things adventure, why you do it, and what it does for your life. And thank you for sharing your story, your inspiration, because I know there'll be someone who's listening to this who will just go, what she says totally lands, and I'm going to go do the thing, whether it's photography or adventure. I'm going to go do that thing, and they've probably added a bunch of stuff to their Adventure Girls must do.
Awesome.
Have a great day, Ray. Thanks, babe.
Bye.
Bye.